Welcome back to Pan-African Geopolitics, and today we are going to start with Mali because the president of Mali has already made a very defiant statement to all non-state actors that choose to want to try to influence, mediate, meddle, do whatever when it comes to the national unity and sovereignty of Mali. Now, according to the statement we have, the president of the Republic of Mali, Assimi Goita, rejects mediation offer from Algeria President Abdulmajid Tebboune, suggesting that henceforth all Malian issues will be discussed in Mali among Malians without foreign intermediaries. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what it should be like. From the ab initio, I have never been an advocate of addressing national issue with any type of foreign interferences. Most especially, this is very common when you talk about, the puppet presidents in Africa in the puppet blocks. Because, when it comes to ECOWAS, that is a certified puppet block. When you talk about the AES states, that is where you have the whole core of Pan-Africanism in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a very cryptic message from Assimi Goita. Before you can talk in this capacity, it means you have belief in your military might. You equally have belief in your security agreement with maybe some superpowers that are working in collaboration with you to further improve your national security. A lot of people have been asking the question, why is Algeria even involved in this issue in the first place? Should they be involved? Yeah, a lot of people have been asking this question. I, at some point, have equally asked this question. And from my research, I discovered that during the democratic regime, whenever there is an internal conflict, that most of the time is being created by this external actor to bend the democratically installed puppet regime to the will of the colonialists, thereby creating a neo-colonialist entity in Mali. And after they do this, they try to come in to mediate, thereby, backing Mali up to make some concessions that also make them to have more and more control over the Malian natural resources. Ladies and gentlemen, Algeria has been the secondary neo-colonialist, while France has always been the main colonial hegemon. So, ladies and gentlemen, but this time around, Assimi Goita is coming out to make a statement that, look, gone are those days when there is a sort of, scuffle around the place and you have Abdulmajid Tebboune bouncing around the whole place like it's a boom that, look, this is the last time you will be needed. We no longer need your help. We've never needed your help if not for the colonial entities that we have in Mali that were working under the network and the framework of the so-called Western democracy. It never belonged to us. That's why they call it Western. And gradually Africa is beginning to build something that we all can identify with, under the spirit of Pan-Africanism. We are going to build our own system and it's going to work for us better because we are Africans. And, I've never seen Africa unite so much in my lifetime. I mean, this is the first time I'm seeing Africa, uniting around the world. I think the last time I saw something this close was during the time of George Floyd. It actually went viral, but I mean, this is a cataclysmic, episode of transcontinental event. Every country in Africa at this moment need a brave president. They need a president that's patriotic. They need a president that can stand firm in the face of the colonialists and say no to plundering and say no to oppression. These are the type of people we want in Africa to represent the continent of Africa. And as you can see, a lot of presidents keep running to their masters. These ones, they stayed in their yard. And you have a lot of, diplomats, envoys. It will just be disrespectful because they've labeled those people already. If those presidents now have to start coming, the world will crucify them. That's why you see that they keep sending their envoy. So it's as if they themselves are already coming. They can't wait to come. They're just waiting to modify the narrative so that, yeah, it will be suiting for their reputation out there, so that they don't look like they caved in the face of the entire globe. And because of this stance of Assimi Goita, which has been a total defiance to the previous order, that's why you've seen that France has always told different lies through their mainstream media. That's why you've seen Algeria, helping, aiding, and abating in everything that these rebels, these terrorist networks have been doing. I think Algeria might even be responsible for funding them to some level, providing weapon, I think even training. In my own opinion, maybe some of the special forces of Algeria might be involved in the training of some of these terrorist elements. But we can see that time flies, and coming to today, Mali is making a bold stance that if you overstep your boundary, we will put you right where you belong. This type of statement is what I want to hear. So the question we need to ask now is, what will be the reactive expenditure of Algeria? Will they continue to pivot in the direction of France, spread lies, do what they can from within their walls? With France being the primary malignant tumor, which have been caught out with some military and diplomatic chemotherapy, and with a secondary benign tumor being Algeria now being caught out with surgical diplomatic precision. What other card do you think both France and their puppets in Algeria? What order? Oh, I forgot. Mauritania included. What other cards do you think these guys hold? Because right now, I think the AES states they hold all the cards. Now, it is equally important to acknowledge the apologies of some of this organization that has always been contributing to sowing chaos in the AES, allegedly. Now, this organization is an American based London organization founded in London. Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to what they have to say. The name of this organization is called Tata. It's an organization that enables migrants all over the globe to send money to Africa. You want to send money to Mali, you want to send money back home, you can use a tap send. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to what they have to say. Tap Send wishes to be clear that it will not tolerate any hate speech, extremist, or contrary to its values of inclusion, respect, and integrity. We announce that we have ended and will continue to end with immediate effect all collaborations with its influences or ambassadors taking positions that violate the dignity of the Malian people. They said they will end and will continue to end. So the question is, have they been collaborating with people that have been taking positions that violate the dignity of the Malian people before? We note with regret, that means they are now admitting it, that they used to collaborate. You can see London owned US based company. That's what they do, and they keep sending envoy to Africa. Despite our constant neutrality, we have been associated with some of their statements that correspond neither to our mission nor to our values. We are totally disassociated from the comments made by these individuals, which in no way reflect the commitments and position of our company. Our intention has always been to support the Malian diaspora, and we would like to offer our most sincere apologies for any misunderstanding caused by any past collaborations. We remain fully committed to doing what we do best, facilitating in confidence and in respect the links between the Malian diasporas and their families in Mali. Thank you for your trust, and God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my own opinion. We don't trust them. Okay? That is it. You've previously intentionally collaborated with people that were sovereign the image of Mali, which I feel like is an intentional, act. But maybe some way, somehow, they've been called out. And I think Mali specifically, now they're coming out to apologize. So I do think that the Malian people in diaspora should take note of this organization called Tap, and they should stop running whatever they are doing with this particular application. Because when you empower these people, you feed these people with your resources, they come back to take you out. That is what they do. It seems Mali is very key to these people. That is why you see them coming out to make some apologies, right? They too must feel it. No international organization should take such steps without corresponding retaliative consequences. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's over to the Malian people in diaspora and at home to do the needful. Rudy Atala, just a week after he left Mali, the United States has already sent another envoy. So, according to this envoy, the United States reaffirms the affirmations of Rudy Atala representing the states. The United States reaffirms its readiness to collaborate with Mali effectively to combat the scourge of terrorism. Terrorist groups such as Al Qaeda, the Islamic State in the Greater Sahel, and the Group for the Support of Islam and Muslim (JNIM) are all threatening the American interests. It will truly be a great opportunity for the United States to collaborate with Mali to confront this terrorist group, assured to the Malian people. Now, the name of this envoy is William B. Stevens, following a meeting with the Malian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abdoulaye Diop. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this? Man, this is becoming funny already. I don't even have an answer for them because I think, why is the United States trying so hard to support Mali in counterterrorism, and maybe to an extent in their intelligence network? I think the Malian people should be very, very careful right there. What do you think? You can leave your opinion in the comment section what you think about that move by the United States. Now, in the span of 1 week, Rudy Atala, now a man of the name William B. Stevens. What do you think? Now, another EIG terrorist has just been caught. And this group of EIG terrorists, they surrendered under heavy military fire. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously, when you look at these guys, when you look at what they look like, they actually look young. But ladies and gentlemen, the question is, after these people have been caught, it is the look on their face that is actually very, very pathetic. But in my own opinion, I feel like if you think you are man enough to carry a rifle and wage war against the Malian people, I think you should be man enough equally to dance to the consequence. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what measures the Malian justice system will likely take, on this issue. But I think they should be punished severely. And I mean, the punishment should be very, very severe, because we need to take every step in the right direction to make sure that we set an example to the rest of these elements that are still hiding themselves in the bush, that the Malian government will not tolerate any of this nonsense now or ever. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can drop your opinion on what you think about that issue. Now, Egypt was equally in Niger. Now, I told you that when a diplomat, envoy, comes to the AES states, what you tell one is what you tell the other. The same thing. Untainted. You have to tell them the same thing. So the envoy of Egypt actually went to Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, repeating the same thing. And one thing you should note is that Captain Ibrahim Traore was seated when they went to Burkina Faso. Assimi Goita was seated when they went to Mali. And here is President Abdurrahman Chiani. I don't know for what reason, but I think they seem to be in agreement with Egypt already. Let me tell you what I've noticed over time. When a foreign representative comes to the AES state and you see the prime ministers or any other representative entertaining them, I think the answer is a no. But when you see the president themselves entertaining these diplomats, the answer is a yes. When Brazil came, Ibrahim Traore was there. You see, any of the friendly countries that come to Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, you always see the head of state entertain them. But when you see like the prime minister, the foreign minister, the answer is no. Whatever discussion they have, they can keep it to themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this? Because Egypt equally has now stated that they want to collaborate with each and every of the AES states. A lot of people don't trust Egypt, but I don't know. I can feel it in my gut, but feeling things in my gut does not, it does not hold any water. So I can feel it in my gut that um Egypt might also be a strategic partner. You can drop your opinion on that. What you think about Egypt collaborating with these people? A lot of people have said that Egypt is a Western puppet. So much so that I'm beginning to have a second thought about Egypt. I used to trust Egypt before, but with the number of people that's actually stated that Egypt is another colonial stooge in Africa, I'm beginning to have a second thought about our stance on Egypt. Now we got a fresh information. Actually, this is not confirmed yet. It's still a rumor that there's a collaboration when it comes to security between Togo and Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? A lot of people have said the Togolese government is actually a colonial stooge, and the way they are treating the Togolese people is actually very, very bad. That is a very sad situation. But, let us look at it from this perspective, right? I think some of these presidents, they are in the corner, right? They are between the people of their country and the hegemonies, right? They have to continuously implement and stand on those colonial principles, those colonial ideologies, those colonial policies, and which always maltreat, the economy and the lives and properties and the safety of their people, right? But I think the moment they try to pivot out, it is always very, very difficult. But, ladies and gentlemen, could this alliance with Russia be a getaway for the regime of Togo? Maybe they're trying to pivot away from the West. Should we give them a second chance? I leave that to the Togolese people, and I leave that to the entire African people in diaspora and at home. I want to appreciate every kings and queens on this channel, all my VIPs. I want to say the ultimate thank you, and I want to thank all the women on this platform, all the beautiful ladies, all the prince and princesses, all the queens. You all are really, really great people that I've come across in this lifetime of my lifetime. So I want to say thank you specially. It's your boy 7200 signing out, enough said. But before I go, I love you all, man. Peace out and see you on the next video.